Christopher, let's dive right in. For those who hear about transformation of dangerous spaces for the first time, what exactly is it? Where does it happen? And how does it work?
Well, Transformation of Dangerous Spaces is a traveling immersive art installation that reimagines one of the physical spaces where gender-based violence often begins or hides in plain sight. It's a controlled gallery environment where we fabricate full-scale reconstructions of spaces like bathroom stalls and locker rooms. The kinds of places we like to believe are neutral, but they're not. They're often where silence is taught, where fear is instilled, and where power begins to perform itself. These are the rooms where language turns into legacy and where boys become men who carry what they've heard and what they've seen and what they've done. But these analog spaces also mark a shift from whispered cruelty to algorithmic echo chambers, from scribbled slurs on stall doors to violent rhetoric blasting through screens and into headphones. Today, the socialization of young men and boys has become increasingly digital, solitary, and louder. The lessons once passed hand to hand in locker rooms are now reinforced online at scale, and they are more graphic, more isolating, more persistent. Transformation of Dangerous Spaces exposes that evolution. It shows how the physical space laid the foundation, but the digital world now carries the legacy. We transform those spaces into visceral, reflective installations using advanced technology layered with sound, light, language, and memory. Every element is deliberate. They are raw, they're loud, they're meant to linger in the body, not just the mind. And this is not passive work. It confronts it, it disturbs it, and it invites reflection. We're planning to present this in communities all across Canada, not just in cities, but in towns and places often left out of national conversations. At each stop, we will work in partnership with local shelters, civic leaders, men's groups, and survivors, because this isn't just a touring art piece. It's a call to action, and we hope a mirror.
That's powerful. I'm curious, can you take us back to the very beginning? What was the spark that started all of this? Was there a particular moment or conversation that planted the seed?
It certainly did not start as an art project, but the conversation was born out of grief. The conversation began after the murder of Elaine Mosher. She was the sixth woman killed by her male partner on January 5th in her home. Elaine lived in my community. I didn't know Elaine or her family, but her death affected me. And it started a conversation in a coffee shop. I had met with Kellyanne Hamshaw, Executive Director of Harbour House, to talk about housing, just housing. But what unfolded between us was something else entirely. And we didn't know it at the time, but that conversation became the catalyst for Transformation of Dangerous Spaces. And what began as small talk turned into real talk about gender-based violence, about consent, about the systems that fail women and the systems that fail men. At one point, Kellyanne mentioned that it feels like waiting for Godot. Two people sitting in a cafe, waiting for someone or something, for some system to show up. But no one was coming, and that's when it clicked. We couldn't wait. We had to build something. Something that just didn't ask for awareness, but demanded accountability. Something that didn't explain violence away, but made it impossible to ignore. And those hard conversations, if you stay in them, can lead to meaningful action. And Kelly and I built a kind of shorthand in those early meetings that kind of only happens when you stop trying to fix and start trying to understand. That's how Transformation of Dangerous Spaces was conceived. Not in a boardroom, not in a studio, but in a cafe. And that moment in the cafe didn't solve anything, but something started, and that's where this work began.
Can you share a bit about your creative background and how that shift happened?
Yeah, certainly. So my background is in interior design and custom fabrication. And for nearly 20 years, I built large-scale works for other artists, architects, and I built public art, lighting installation, architectural statements, all across North America. But I was the person behind the scenes, helping others bring their visions to life. And in 2023, I had a stroke And when I came out the other side, I couldn't unsee what had shifted. Something in me had cracked open. I saw the world very differently, with more care, more empathy, more everything. The noise fell away, and what was left was feeling. I felt everything more deeply. I loved more openly. I cried more easily. Even the smallest moments carried weight. A conversation, a gesture, a silence. It was all as if part of that filter, that once filtered emotion, had gone offline. And I realized I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to keep building other people's visions while mine sat waiting to be seen. I wanted to speak, to create, honestly, urgently, unapologetically. So I created Transformation of Dangerous Spaces. And from that, I founded Alchemia Art Workshop, a true cart before the horse moment, but a necessary one.
Thank you for sharing that. You've also said that this work isn't just professional, it's deeply personal. Would you be willing to talk a little bit about your own experiences and how they've shaped this project?
Yes, it's lived experience. Have I experienced intimate partner violence? That historically has been a hard question for me to answer, and the simple answer is yeah, yes. The difficult answer is that intimate partner violence and gender-based violence is actually part of my early development. It's in my family. It's not abstract. It is real. I witnessed the abuse, both physical and verbal. I witnessed the violence, and I experienced it too. I hid in the bathroom, the only room with a lock on the door. And law enforcement has been involved with my family in the past. And like so many stories shaped by shame and silence, it eventually went quiet and the past got folded into the background as if it never happened. But I remembered. And like most things we try to bury alive, it wouldn't stay quiet. And so I did what a lot of kids do in that situation. I normalized it. Because when you're young and scared, you don't call it trauma, you call it home, you call it school, and so you adapt so you can survive. But I buried it under layers of silence and shame and self protection. And it followed me. It showed up in my relationships. It lingered like a dark shadow in the wings. And it didn't just affect me, it helped form me. And for years, I worked to reshape what it had left behind. As a young man, I was verbally and physically assaulted many times in the boys' bathroom and in the locker room at school. And I was sexually assaulted by someone I knew. These are the places where silence grows, where shame festers, where the vernacular of violence passed between boys often unnoticed. I heard the vocabulary of misogyny and homophobia and domination long before I understood what any of it meant. And I laughed at things I shouldn't have. I was silent when I should have spoken up. The language in bathrooms and school locker rooms is a hidden curriculum. And as someone who didn't fit the mold of traditional male masculinity, those spaces were especially dangerous for me. They were where boys learn without textbooks or teachers how to perform power, suppress emotion, and normalize violence against others. Many of the women I love in my family, my friends, my mentors are survivors. And there were times, even knowing what I knew, I said nothing. I stayed quiet. And the truth is that silence is not neutrality, it's complicity. And this work is how I reckon with that. It's how I confront the quiet I once chose. And it's how I hold myself accountable, not just as an artist, but as a man.
You've spoken a lot about the need for men to be a part of this. Can you explain why male involvement is so central to transformation of dangerous spaces? What's the role that men specifically need to play here?
Men don't talk enough about their role in this. This is a women's issue because women have carried the weight of it, survived it, and organized against it for generations. But it's men's responsibility because men created and sustained the crisis of conditions of it. And men are the ones who need to help dismantle those conditions. Men need to take responsibility for the culture that we've created and the one that we've inherited and the one that we continue to shape today. The Mass Casualty Commission report made it very clear that men must step up, not just as allies, but as active participants in preventing gender-based violence. That call wasn't vague. It was explicit. and it was urgent. This project honors those that have been doing the work for decades, but it also challenges those of us who haven't. It invites men to step into the discomfort, to face it head on.
I love the name Alchemia. It really sticks with you. Where did that come from? And what's the meaning behind it?
I called it Alchemia because alchemy is about transformation. It's the ancient, almost magical act of turning one thing into another, base metal into gold, grief into beauty, and silence into voice. It's about taking what's overlooked, discarded, or painful, like death, like trauma, like shame, like the aftermath of violence, and transmuting it into something powerful, something luminous, something that glows from within. Alchemia is more than just a name. It's a workshop for transformation. It's a space where art becomes a crucible, where raw experience is not erased or sanitized, but refined and shined. We don't just talk about transformation, we practice it.
As we wrap up, I want to give you the last word. For someone watching this, maybe feeling moved or unsettled, what would you say to them? How could they be a part of this?
If you're watching this and wondering what to do, start by staying in the conversation. Don't look away. Share this work and bring it to your community and help support it. Just sit with it and let it unsettle you. And then ask yourself, what is this asking of me? Because what I've learned is we don't need everyone to shout. We just need fewer people disappearing when things get uncomfortable.